Well, I think we are online. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope everyone's okay. As usual, before I say anything else, I would like acknowledgement that you can hear us, you can see us, that we're looking pretty, and my head is shiny. If I can see someone in the chat. Oh, we share some traits in terms of facial hair. It's the reverse facial hair effect. If anyone can hear, please, there you go. Sounds good. Thank you very much, Scott, and thank you very much, everyone else that's attending. And as you may have realized, I have Dusan Vukcevic with me today, an amazing artist that's going to show us some amazing stuff related to architectural visualization. Now, before I let Dusan, how are you, Dusan, first of all?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
I'm always good. I'm always good, or at least I say so, and that's why I feel so. So let me go and do the housekeeping on today's Create with Maxon, so that we can very quickly proceed to the amazing stuff that Dusan is going to show us. So in order to do that, I need to share my screen and hide my beautiful face. So if you want to go and see what's going on with Maxon, there's a link. I've got all the links here, which I'm going to copy and paste. Over here, if you go to the comment section, you will see a link, and that link is going to take you to this page over here, where we have all the events and links to all the relevant pages I'm going to talk about. You can also ask your questions for the Ask the Trainer session and just go fill this up. Now, if you don't want to type or copy and paste things, you can also go and I have to click a few times. Use this QR code, take a photo of it or screen grab the monitor and put it as your desktop image, so you can always ask your questions. There you go. It's going in 3, 2, 1, boom. And one of the pages that are significant is the Maxon events page that shows all the events that are happening or going to happen soon with all the available links. Now, you're watching this either on the Maxon Training Team YouTube channel or the Maxon YouTube channel. If you want to watch this show recorded with timestamps and comments kindly provided by Dr. Sassy, please go to the Maxon Training Team YouTube channel. That's where we host the videos after they've been presented live. But of course, you can find a ton of content on the Maxon YouTube channel, videos from the shows. SIGGRAPH just finished a couple of days ago. There's some absolutely amazing presentations that happened. Don't forget to go and learn ZBrush on the Maxon ZBrush YouTube channel that has thousands of hours of high quality tutorials and stuff I can't even imagine doing myself. I look at this in absolute envy, and it's not always good. It's just too good for me to comprehend all the amazing stuff. Anyway, and in appreciation to you participating in these shows, please go to this page here, which I think we have a link. Get your t-shirt, this one here. And for the month of August, use the passcode House of Polygons, all caps, no spaces, and you can claim for the month your free t-shirt. You only pay for postage and packaging, including folding. And finally, go to University to watch all the amazing tutorials that we're doing. And we are migrating a ton of tutorials from the old University into the new one. And I think I have something relevant to this, which is go to this link over here and let me paste it as well. I need to do something to paste that. I need to hide it. I need to go to a button. I need to copy it. And I need to paste it in the comments over here. Let's post this here, and you can go and you can request a tutorial that you want us to try and get it on the News University faster. We're doing the best we can. The News University is based on a much better back end, so please help us by showing us what tutorials you want to see over there. Excellent. And I think, let me see. Oh, the last thing is the following. If you want to ask a question, I'm posting a little note. Please type capitalized question before asking so we can distinguish it from general compliments and comments and all that. We get a lot of those. And yeah, I think that's good for now. So let's put our faces back on. And let me ask with the very simple questions. Sir, who are you and what do you do?
Well, as the title here below says, I'm Dusan Vukcevic. I'm from Slovenia. I've been in the CG industry for almost 20 years. It's hard to accept that it's so many years have passed, but what can you do? I started as a 2D artist doing 2D animations, switched to 3D motion design, then fell in love in architecture, interior design, so I started doing architectural visualizations. And now I'm basically doing a mix of everything. So from animations to visualizations and so on. But today I'm going to mostly focus on architectural visualizations, since that is a subject of the day.
I think you have a presentation for us.
Yes. Yes, I have a presentation. I want to show some of the stuff that I do. First, I'm going to show the personal projects that I work on. All right, so there's a bit of a glitch. It's fine. So over the years, I've done so many personal projects. So personal project, of course, meaning no clients, no nothing. I do them for the reason to learn, to get better at what I do, and to express myself through creativity. So these projects are like, some are done very quickly, interior, exterior renders. And thanks to those renders, I was able to get a lot of attention online and clients and so on. So I just realized how important they are. So I just kept going. I'm going to talk a bit more in the beginning about the first project that I'm going to open up. So this is a project I already talked about a little bit at IBC Amsterdam and D2 Vienna, but I want to open those scenes up and really break down how I created them. After that, I will show a couple of other projects that I made, and I'm going to start from the beginning with lighting interiors, exterior, daytime, nighttime, scattering grass, and so on. So a lot of fun stuff.
Dusan, can I ask a question, if I may?
Sure. Yeah.
Which tools do you use? What's your, what does your desk? I assume you have a computer, and what do you have loaded in that computer?
You mean like the specs of the machine or software?
No, software. You obviously use Cinema 4D. What's your favorite renderer?
I use a Redshift.
And that's it.
Redshift render. No, I used almost all renderers available.
Okay.
I tested all of them. I still use Corona render, Octane render, but mostly now we use Redshift render.
Nice. Okay. So going.
Yeah, this animation created here is also Cinema 4D and Redshift. Maybe I should just play it with the sound and then explain what's going on, or should I just talk over it? What do you think?
If the sound is copyrighted music, we may have issues with replaying the video. But if the music is yours or anything like that, I would prefer, unfortunately, to avoid any potential issues and turn off the sound because, yeah,
it's off.
I apologize to everyone for the inability of big companies to distinguish between licensed and unlicensed music. But anyway,
this is completely fine. You can check it out on my YouTube website, and it's posted everywhere if you're interested. So I'm just gonna talk over the video. So the way I made this video is it starts very close up with a needle and a turntable. So it starts growing bigger and bigger. And I will go back a little later and explain the thought process behind it and how I come to create something like this. So here the focus is at the beginning, really close-up shots with like very windy day, and you can see a lot of shadows in the scene, a lot of records, and what kind of seems like a small collection of records slowly starts building up, and it goes on and goes on to something that I wish I had, but that would be quite expensive. So it just is still going, and this is like the final scene. It goes up, and the spiral staircase, which is showcasing the spiraling into addiction of collecting things like records. I love collecting records. Of course, I don't have as many, but I can see the addiction potential. So this is the idea behind the project.
I love the tagline.
Oh, sorry, went there too fast. So the inspiration for a project like this, for me, it's like it's never the same. It's always something different. The most important thing that I think is that you're constantly on the lookout. So I go for a walk and I see a nice light, nice shadows and lights and translucent leaves, and I keep taking pictures of everything. So the references, I have a huge folder of references, but you don't sometimes I think you don't even have to look at the references. It's when you take a picture and think about it, it already kind of you already memorize it to some extent. And this, looking at all those photos and all those references, I think it's you train your eyes to see, especially if you're working on realistic scenes. It really helps you distinguish between what's right, what's wrong, what's missing, because the renderers and the software is getting better and better. But you can still have a hard time making a realistic render, and especially an interesting one. So inspiration is everywhere. For this animation I just shown you is from the movies. I love movies with great cinematography. What I really, really love is movies with great architecture, great interiors, exteriors. For instance, I watch a movie and just like, oh, look at that. So I have to stop it. Sometimes even jump in front of the TV and take a picture with my phone. And this is the thing that's important, I think. Just being mindful of everything. I rarely watch a movie or whatever, that I'm not thinking about all the visuals and everything. So it's not great. Sometimes you can't really focus on the movie. So I tend to rewatch the movies that I like to see everything else, because I'm just obsessed with all the things happening. So that was the inspiration. And I was inspired, but I was really not sure what I want to do. Something that reminds me of that movie I just showed you, The Night House. So this is what I started with. I had this nice armchair here, no lighting at all. So usually I start with dome light. And let's find this. Drop inside an HDR, which comes from HDR Haven, which is actually free. HDRhaven.com. They have so many great HDRs, and you have an option to donate. So if you can donate to the website, because they really have ridiculously good HDRs. All right, so I have no idea at this point what I'm doing. I'm just something I like to do all the time. Just start. Every time you don't have an idea what you want to create, even for the client projects or personal projects, you just start, right? Start moving things around, lighting. See, already at early stage, I'm already have some materials. I'm already working on lighting. And I know at some point I'm gonna have an idea what I want to do. So the HDR is coming in. It's looking kind of flat. I could use portal lights, but I decided to use area lights to boost the light inside. So I go into Redshift lights and go area light. I'm gonna jump out of the camera here for a second, and you can see the scene the way it's set up. So why did I do it this way? It's the other side, the back side of the interior is opened up. So what I do quite a lot is I cheat. So I'm not doing things the way they are physically correct. So physically correct way would be to have a closed room with just a couple of openings for the windows. But that usually means that the GI needs a lot of light bounces to light the room. And when you open it like I did here, there's a lot more light coming in from the backside. So the trick here is it renders faster, but it tends to look not so realistic. So this is where it comes like you have to have a little bit of a feeling about what looks real, what not. So you can get away with a lot of cheating inside of a Cinema 4D, and that's especially because I've been doing this for so long, and I know it would look exactly the same if I would just increase the number of bounces or whatnot. So area light outside the window, rotate it 9 degrees. I'm holding shift for increments of 10 and moving it a little closer like this.
Dusan, can I interrupt you? So if anyone is taking notes about advice for doing these amazing visuals, the advice number 1 at the top is always cheat, right?
Not necessarily. This is like the stage where I'm not sure what I'm doing. So speed is very important. I'm moving things around very quickly, and I don't care about the realism at this point, right? So in some cases I do everything physically correctly and it works perfectly. In some cases I just move things around, change things, whatever I feel at the time. And it's about generating ideas at this point, right?
Okay, that makes more sense because for me, always cheating is a good way just to do
it is. It often is. It often happens that I just leave it the way I started and do focus on other stuff. And at some point I open it up again. Oh, wow, I really left it like that. So it's like something I don't really think about. So just looking at the image and changing things, blocking light, adding additional fill lights, all kinds of crazy stuff.
I'll let you show your stuff. Yeah, don't mind me.
Yeah.
I'm just
all right. So this is actually what photographers do as well. They have a interior. They take a bunch of different photos with different lights on and off on a tripod, and then they select the best part of an image and so on. So this it's okay to cheat in 3D if you will. So all right, I turned on the area light here, and it's way too bright, and I'm gonna reduce the intensity to something like 10, and I want it more focused. So the setting here of the spread light is like if you have a flashlight that when you spin it, so it's more focused or more wide. So 1 is fully spread, 0.1 it's really gonna be sharp. So somewhere in between. I like the way this, if I zoom in like this, I like the way the light is coming in directly and causing these deep shadows, which I really like. For me, it's always like the depth, so the image it's not flat. It just adds a new dimension when you add additional light sources to the scene. So, okay, I like this. This is not bad. Just a simple chair. So how do I continue? What do I do next? So I start with adding books, like a reading area, a little plant here, adding more books, looking for different camera angles, positions, and so on. I'm liking what I see, but still I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, and came up to idea. I want to add a turntable, and instead of the books, I started adding some records inside. And I was like, hey, you know what? I like records. Maybe I should just ditch the books altogether and start with the records. So let's switch back to Cinema 4D. And this is the scene that I was working on. So if you remember, for the animation, There's a lot of records here using clones instances, so the scene is not too heavy. And again, it's still open up. I did not close it up. In the background, you can see some trees. And again, a huge cheat. They're really far away and they're huge. I liked the bokeh when the trees were very far behind. So I just kept it this way. So there's many things that are not physically correct in this scene, but when I render it out, it looked completely fine. So again, like I mentioned, cheating. The trees, if you look at them, the trees are Alembic file. So the way I created the trees, let me just zoom in, is with a software called SpeedTree. It's very easy to create the trees, very easy to create simulation. You can create the grow from the start, and I really like the natural feel of the simulation. So basically what I do is just import the Alembic file inside of the Cinema 4D, and it just works. Okay, so the next thing, so the trees, if you see in the background, they're animated, and it's very smooth. So Alembic files really work well. It's a Cinema 4D. So when I was animating the cameras, I use a little bit of the vibrate tag, so it's not a perfect camera movement. One other thing that I used is I tried placing these trees over the window to cast shadows. So like have dynamic shadows with a lot of leaves and everything. Kind of was tricky to do. So again, I decided to do something else, and I used I'm going to show it here. I used a gobo texture on a spotlight. So basically, similar as you would place the tree outside the window, but you have a lot more control this way. So this is the spotlight outside the window with a texture. This one is from Grayscale Gorilla. So if I just copy this into this first scene and disable this guy, and let's hit render again, you can see the huge difference that happens. It just so much more detail in the light, and even when you animate it adds so much. It's not just a camera fly through, it adds so much detail to the overall animation. So, and again, you have a lot of control. You just move the light, the spotlight around and load the texture, and it works really well. What I also did, if I go back to this scene, is I'm very specific about the bokeh. So I loaded in, again, from Grayscale Gorilla, I loaded in a bokeh texture. So the depth of field looks different. Hard to explain. I'm talking about really small details here. You can barely notice them, but adding all these small details all of the time makes a huge difference overall on the image. So here's a couple more renders, and I use even ZBrush for this scene. A couple of candles were on the shelf, and I love ZBrush. I love using it. Fortunately, don't really have enough time to do it, but I really enjoy it. I'm really looking forward to ZBrush for iPad. I think I'll be able to do a lot more, when I get back in the house. Looking forward to that. The post-production, I use a lot of Red Giant's Magic Bullet looks. Nothing too drastic. I like to use the usual, the curves, change the contrast, a little bit of colors. Sometimes I use some of the presets that are available and change them up. One thing I like to do also when I render it out like an animation, I tend to render it very clean with a lot of samples and add additional renoiser inside of the Red Giant Magic Bullet looks, because it looks more natural. For instance, if you render it out in Redshift, and some parts are more noisy, some are less, it depends on the materials and everything. The best way for me is just render it clean and add noise, so it's like a filmic noise from all angles and all areas.
That's actually very, very interesting advice. Do you mind if we go to some questions, and let's see what we're. First of all, Dances for Peas, beautiful shiny heads. Thank you very much for the compliment. Amin says loud and clear, he can hear us. Thank you very much for the acknowledgement. My friend Sharon, hi Sharon, howdy. And this is for you. I assume.
We're sharing the same name.
Fantastic. Greetings from Germany, Vera. What else? Amir. Hi to Noseman and Dusan. Hi, Amir. To you too. Magic Dog. Hi from Brixton. I used to go to Brixton when I was in the UK. Great place to go out. Great food, great people. Darren, are you a bassist as well?
I used to be a bassist in the band, but I switched to guitar now, so I'm a guitar player in the band, and we play death metal music. So
yeah, the quiet stuff. Okay, here we have our first question. Bharat, as a beginner getting into interior visualization, what are some recommended PC specifications? That's an interesting one. But what would someone be looking for?
Well, first and foremost, you need to decide on what kind of renderer you're going to be using. If you're doing a GPU render like Redshift, you got to focus on the RAM and, of course, the graphics cards. The more graphics cards, the stronger graphic cards, the faster the render goes. If you're going to like a CPU render like V-Ray or Corona, then you have to focus on the CPU. If you're someone like me who switches around a lot, not as much as I used to, but you have to have everything top notch. So maybe that's the best way to start. I'm going to use Redshift, get a decent graphic card or multiple, and the great thing is it just stacks up. The more graphics cards you have, the faster it goes.
Yes,
it multiplies. So that's really cool.
Let's see some more. Thank you very much for that. Filippo here.
Hey, Filippo. Hey, buddy.
Okay. I think this is Drake, and he's a supporter on Patreon. We're very happy to be here and doing this for you. Thank you for hanging around with us. My very good friend, Dustin. Hey, y'all. How you doing, brother? Henry says, what's up? We have some waving from Uriah. And now, can you give some tips on your lighting? I think you're going to show something about.
Oh yeah,
lighting.
Yeah. We're going to start interior, exterior, night, day scenes. We're going to go from scratch. So
excellent. I've already replied to Henry, and it is what you're seeing is Redshift render, but Dusan uses others as well. Let's see, what else do we have here? Hi everyone from Spoonchy, and Dustin gives some advice. Light stacking is definitely a real thing. It can also be fun to balance in post by blending the layers together. Yes, indeed. Thank you for that. Another question. So Fernando asks, where do you look for references? That's a good one. Besides the movies you said.
Well, references are sometimes when working on client projects, it has to be a specific type of wood, right? So you just look for that. Or is it like, for instance, has to be some sort of a minimalistic interior? Then you can look for it on Pinterest, for instance, or Google it. There's so many options you can look for inspiration. I mean, the references, but The style-wise, it's like all over the internet. Just Google it; it will take you everywhere. Also, Instagram is very good. If, for instance, a client wants a classical environment interior, you just type it in and look for everywhere and find the ones that you that fits the best. And of course, share it with the client and see what they prefer better, and then you have the right reference because they know they see where you show them where you're going with your project, so it makes sense. So yeah, it's actually it's everywhere and nowhere. Sometimes it's so hard to find, sometimes it's easier. But the important thing is here to not copy stuff directly. You have like an inspiration, like a reference, but you maybe pick a couple of different ones and do something on your own, so you don't get into some copyright trouble or whatever.
Yeah. One piece of advice is, for me, although I'm not an artist by no stretch of the imagination, and I have quite a good imagination when it comes to things, a reference to me is a driver to understand what the person that did that or did the photograph or did the movie was trying to do, the methodology. So I would look at an image and ask myself, why is light coming from there? What does, what is the emotion that this portrays? And once you start understanding the patterns, I always reference Hitchcock. I think he was one of the first directors to put intense light onto people's eyes. And for me, that is totally unnatural, but it works 1,000%. It's amazing how he or someone else he copied it from, I have no idea, came up with that idea where putting a spotlight on someone's eyes totally changes the story behind what's happening in that moment. And that's a very good example that it wouldn't happen. It doesn't happen in real life. When you're having a conversation with someone, it doesn't matter how intense the conversation is. No one's face lights up. You don't use a flashlight. So stuff like that. Let's continue. Some quick greetings from Italy. Hello, Teapot Academy. Again, Darren is split personality. He lives half in Indiana and half in his body is in Bad Homburg, and I think most of his mind is there now. We have Mighty Digital from Scotland or Scottyland. And what else? Amin says a long time ago while in Florence, Dusan.
Hey, Amin. Hey, bro.
So that's why you need to hang out. Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, well, he'll be presenting at D2 Vienna, so I'll see you there.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, a good question here. Where do you get your 3D assets from?
Okay, good one. Again, all over the place. I'm going to show some of the stuff later on when I'll be opening some of the scenes. Some of the scanned website like Quixel Mega Scans, some websites like 3D Sky and so on. I mean, sometimes you find them in really weird places, but sometimes you get good models, sometimes you don't. Oftentimes I have to fix the models that I import. Sometimes I just model everything on my own because there's something specific and I just can't find the good enough quality, so I just model it on my own. Most of the time, though, when if the objects are not scanned, I redo the textures completely.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
My advice is, first of all, check your asset manager because we're dropping capsules every month. And if anyone needs any particular type of assets or assets in general, we are always open to input from our user base. So just contact support and say, what seems to be a good thing to add, and we'll take that into account.
I do use a lot of the content browser. I will show you later as well. It's full of really good stuff.
Yeah, we have some amazing artists that are contributing to that. Have you ever combined Cinema 4D with Unreal Engine to produce visuals from Magic?
I have. It works really well. Sorry about that. I have, and actually it works really well. the transition between Cinema 4D and Unreal is really good. If you have Redshift materials inside your scene and lights, it works in Unreal. So that's really, really handy because it used to be like you have to redo all the materials, but now it's imported directly into Unreal. So it's very quick process too if you want real-time visuals or whatever.
Fantastic. A few quick shout outs. Jay, hi from Arizona. Or is that Australia? No, it's Arizona. So Teapot, it's cinema. So what you're seeing now is looks. That is a. It comes with Cinema 4D. It's Red Giant looks, if I'm not mistaken.
Magic Bullet look.
Magic Bullet looks, and it's integrated in Cinema 4D. So whatever you have rendered, you can click a button, and it's basically what you're seeing is inside Cinema 4D. What you're
and
seeing.
You can also use it in After Effects as a plugin.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm going to do now is let you continue because sorry I interrupted you, and we're going to take up more questions as we go.
All right. Okay, so that's that with this scene. So let's go continue with this. So again, photography, something that I was talking about the movies, but photography is very important. I'm going to show this scene that was quite successful. So this was a photograph from a photographer, Sean Dalton, and inspired me to create something like this. So as you see, it's not one-to-one or exactly the same, but I try to capture the mood of this scene. So what I did here also was I mean, the Redshift renders are so fast, so you can play around and add animations and so on. So what I want to do is open this scene up. I'm going to close this real quick. And let's open this scene. All right, so we're inside the scene. The camera moves up, car goes past, and if we go out of the camera, you can see the car is rigged. So I basically just rotated the wheels, moved it around. What I talked about before about the assets, this is from Quixel Megascans, some buildings. Is there a way to stop those coming in directly? Okay, so when you look inside the scene, everything is very minimalistic. I work only in the field of view. So I already knew in the beginning I'm going to have this camera view. Thanks everybody for the follows. And I don't care about the rest. So when I look from the top, you can see only this direction. If I grab the camera here and stretch it out, you can see only focusing on this area. And I don't really care about the rest. Once I'm inside the scene, I sometimes focus on the backlighting and objects to add illusion. There's a lot more stuff going on. But in reality, there's really not much going on here. So, okay, this is the scene. I deleted some parts just in order to get it to render faster. So you're going to notice that there was not much of the post-production at all in this scene. I like doing that inside of Cinema 4D and Redshift to just create the scene, and the post-production is very minimal. This helps me with also developing new ideas and so on. When it comes to materials, let's focus on this one here. I also try not to overcomplicate it. So this is a mixed material or used material blender. So we have a basic metal material with some bump map and some distortions like this, some maps with some dirt. And I mix it with rust. So it's a rusty metal material, also similar to the metal. And I combine those with a curvature map. So what curvature does is basically, it used to be called dirt in some renderers, or ambient occlusion like. So it adds this detail based on the map you place it in. So if I hit render here real quick, you basically tell the renderer which parts should be distorted, should be rusty, and which not. And in this case, it's the areas that are on the edges, so similar to ambient occlusion. When you zoom in, you can see there's slightly too much of a bump. And this is something that I like to do, because when you zoom in very closely, you can see some parts are over-exaggerated, like this bump here. But when you look at it from the camera, you can barely see it. So again, another cheat. If you want those bumps to be visible, you have to... Oh, hey, Fabio. What's up, bro? So as you can see, the scene renders really fast. This is so important for me. Moving the lights around, doing all kinds of stuff, it really is fast. So if I go back to this, and the lighting here, you can see there's a basically we have HDR light, and then we have directional light. So there's an area light outside that is casting the light, similar to what I showed you before. And there is also a light from the background and light from the this hanging light, and also from the bulbs here. So this is the final render. Combination of all these lights. Just keep going. So since I have the fully lit full 3D scene, I work with... I changed the setup, like this evening scene and early morning scene. So once you have a full 3D scene, you can just quickly change it, and you get a completely different feel of the scene. Okay. So for me, it's always about the details. Like in this case, scanned cupcake and a cookie, and it's really... there's a lot of things that people never really notice or see, but it's just something I love to do. I just love adding those details in, and actually I don't care if anybody sees it or not, but I still believe that adding those little details on all the different places, in the end, it makes a difference.
One thing I want to say about this is, as you just pointed out, you may not be able to see what the detail is, but the way the human brain works is that from the whole image, we do not... when we look at an image, a photograph, or outside the window, humans don't perceive what we see analytically. Our brain doesn't say, I can see one tree, I can see two trees, I can see 3 billion leaves. I'm looking outside my window now, and I can see miles of forests. So, but my brain doesn't identify every leaf. What happens is that our brain encapsulates the photograph or the image we're watching holistically. So all these little details allow the image to exit what is known as the uncanny valley. That's why grain is something that we are accustomed to with film. So that's why if an image is too clean, we perceive it as being problematic. No one has perfect vision. No camera has perfectly clean lens. No window is perfectly clean. So adding details that are not visible doesn't mean that these details are not perceived by the human brain. So as Dusan says, the more attention to the detail that's not visible is going to overall make your image look real.
Well put. I agree 100%. All right, let's move on. So this is the scene that we're going to be lighting. Let me play it again. So I made this animation. The goal here when I was working on this scene was to very simple scene, very minimalistic scene, but I still wanted to make some kind of an animation. So I was looking for different compositions, different camera positions to make it somewhat interesting. Really moving around the scene and trying to, similar to like you have a brief, you're a photographer, you have a brief to take pictures of an apartment, and you're looking for good composition and good shots and good lighting, similar to this fashion. So what let's open that scene up now. Let's close this down. Okay, we can keep this one and open up. Open up the scene. And this one. So first I'm gonna show you the clay render. We're gonna play around with lighting. So again, very simple scene. The composition really helps here. It's just a cube with windows. So when I go back inside, so how do I go about lighting something like this? If I put this back on, there's a strong light coming in from the side, from like a sun and the sky. So this is what we're going for here. So I'm just gonna go to Redshift, Objects, Sun and Sky Rig, and I'll just go ahead and hit render to see what it looks like. Okay, so this is very dark. So here we have a sky, and inside there's a sun. So I think we have to rotate this to find the sun. I'm just eyeballing this. Maybe it would be a better idea. No, there it is. So I'm rotating the sky and the sun together until I found the light. And if we look at the setting of the sun. Okay, my phone just went crazy. Sorry. I think I had Siri or something. That was crazy. So what I want to do by default, it's minus 45 degrees angle of the sun. So what I want to do is lift it up a little bit. So it's like a sunset or early morning. And as you see right here, the sun looks already pretty good and already very similar to what I made before. The only thing is the sky is just way too dark. So if I go on into the sky and increase it here, it's gonna be overblown with the sun. There's ways around that, but what I like to do is, what I want to do is tell the Redshift sky where to focus its intensity. So I open up the lighting and I use portal light. So the portal lets the light inside the object or the interior. I'm flipping it around again with increments of 10 by holding Shift. Move it in. So what I'm doing is I'm placing the portal object on the window. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be close enough. Control drag, move it onto the other window, back into the camera, and let's hit render again. What we're going to notice is that nothing has changed because we need to tweak a couple of parameters, and we have here an exposure. So if I start moving the exposure up, you can see the sunlight still remains the same, and I'm lighting the scene, and the sky is adding more focus to the interior of the room. And you can already see it's very, very similar to what I did in only like a couple of clicks. The sky is a bit too blue. We can play with the tint here to make it more warm. We can do it in post-production. What we can also do is change the sky from PRG sky, clear sky, to this Spiritum et al. Not sure what that means, but this one makes the image more more white, which is basically what I like to do in the interiors. I don't want too many warm and cool tones coming in, because it kind of messes up with the materials. So I tend to go for more whitish lighting when it comes to clay renders. When we go to this scene with the materials, let's render this one out. As you can see here, I used a slightly different different setup, but it's very similar. You know what? I'm going to show it really quickly. Let's delete this. Let's add a. I have some shortcuts here. Redshift, light, dome light, and in here I'm dropping in a HDR, again from HDR Haven. It has a very strong light, the sunlight, which means it's going to be very, very contrasty. It's not like an overcast render or anything. It's going to be very contrasty. Okay, so I'm going to jump out of the camera here, and you can see the HDR. Yeah, it's actually not. This is not right. It has to be 0. And I look up where the sun is. There it is. It's up there. So it's not ideal for what we need. Let's jump back into the camera. I want to rotate it a little bit until I see the sun. Okay, there's the sun, and I'm going to do a similar thing that I did with the sunlight, and move it up. This is not, again, not the most accurate thing to do when you look at the scene outside. It's word is going upside down, but it really doesn't matter. And I'm getting this similar to the sunlight lighting scenario, and I quickly, actually, it's going to be much faster if I just copy these two lights here, and I'm going to show you here. So similar to, no, that's wrong. These guys. So similar to the portal lights I did before, I'm adding some area lights, simple area lights. So Redshift light, area light, and place them here at the slight angle. Get inside, hit render, and I decreased the intensity here. The default is, I think, 100. Reduced to 15. Now, why would I prefer this lighting instead of the lighting before? Well, it's only a slight difference again. I kind of like more the way the dome light, the color of the dome light looks very interesting to me, even though the difference is very minimal. So, and also when you look at the sun here in this image, it also adds a little bit, again, those details. When the sunlight is not perfectly like circle, you get small deformations in the shadows and so on. So you get maybe more realistic lighting, but you can really do a lot with Sun in the Sky rig. Going back into this one.
Fantastic.
So materials wise, it's also nothing too crazy. Let me go on to this side. Going inside here. This is like one of the more important textures here. So the important thing here is to use very high quality textures. This one is from my friends from Texture Supply. They have really, not locate, we need edit image. Really high quality texture. That's the most important thing. The rest, what you do is all the details, but you have to be a high quality texture. I use a ramp here with Fresnel, so it adds a little bit of the glow on the edges, or how I call it. So let's render this. You can see this. You can see this in the fabric with a little bit of the Fresnel effect to make it look cozy and
yeah, it helps make it look fuzzy because yeah, when the fabric has little hairs, it's like my head if I haven't shaved it and I get a backlight, you see a halo around my head. Yeah.
we're on the same page, man.
Are you prepared? Let's look at a couple of questions. Are you good with that?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. If it's possible, very quickly, a quick look at render settings for animation. Do you have any tips? If someone is doing animation, if there are any settings that you would prefer, or something you need to click on, or something like that.
Well, I have to be honest. I have a lot of graphics cards, so it renders really fast. For me, let's create a new one here. So these basic settings here work really well. So for instance, I'm just testing the scene. I just set it to low settings. And once I'm ready to render, I just hit high. And that's pretty much all sometimes I need to do. When you're previewing renders, I tend to disable the hardware ray tracing because it takes a little longer to load up the scene. You know, when you're doing exactly what like I'm doing right now, putting it, turning on render, turning it off, this helps speed up that process. Otherwise, I used to do a lot of advanced render settings. I still sometimes do. So what you do then is go into each material and set the samples, set the light samples like here, and also in the, like for instance, for interiors, I use brute force irradiant point cloud. For exteriors, sometimes it's much faster to use brute force because you have an open scene, and that solution helps renders faster. Again, you have number of rays. It can, for instance, if you know it's going to be a huge animation and it's going to take a long time to render, you just simply go through all the materials and play with all the settings, all the samples everywhere, and test render each material, each light, each component of the rendering to see where it's slowing the render down. Usually some materials take longer to render, and if you're in the background, you can give them less samples. If you're really close to the camera, you give them more samples, and so on. So the tweaking part here is important. Unless it's like a quick render or a still image, you can just go into the settings and just go to the basic and hit very high render, and it's going to look great.
How many graphics cards? What's your setup in your current computer?
I have 4 3090, 3090s. So not the latest. Yeah,
okay,
but still fast enough.
Yeah. So someone with 2 4090s would have the equivalent speed to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
like it depends on the scene. Some scenes render really slow. If you have a lot of translucent materials, a lot of subsurface scattering, and so on, it slows down. But scenes like this, you saw how quickly that renders. So
that was obvious. Yeah.
That's really no need to overcomplicate your life with all these with the settings.
There are some great videos. The best one I've seen, it's quite old as well, is from Sol Espinosa, and the Art of Sol on YouTube. And he has, I think it's over an hour, but he explains everything about the samples. Automatic sampling generally does a very good job, as Dusan said. But if you do want to go to the nitty-gritty stuff, there is a bunch of tutorials you can watch online to optimize your renders to be extremely fast. And I just have to mention that for me, in my experience, the number one reason for slow renders is not enough VRAM, and that's not very obvious, because if the geometry or the textures require more RAM than you have available, or if you're running another software that uses GPU VRAM, like any of the Adobe suite software, they actually take up a bunch of your GPU VRAM when you're running them at the same time. And I've had people have 50 times slowdowns because what happens is that instead of loading everything in the VRAM, it has to unload it to the system memory and swap all the time. So you're not spending the time in rendering. You're actually spending, the computer is spending all the time transferring the data. So make sure you buy a card. So in Dusan's case, 3090s have 12 gigabytes of RAM. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So if you have two, it doesn't stack up to 24. So you can use a maximum of 12 gigabytes of RAM. Whereas if you buy a 14090, then it uses a full 24. I think those have 24 gigs of RAM. So make sure when you budget for one or more GPUs that you may have to pay a bit more, but you can have equivalent, or even if you're slower in some cases, the extra VRAM is going to help you improve the speed. So let's go to a question by Darren. How important is the editor view for wood textures in setting up texture projections and so forth? Do you which viewport do you use when you create materials? Do you use the viewport interactive renderer, or do you just bring up the render view from Redshift? Or do you use the viewport itself? What's your preferred method to fine tune your materials?
The viewport. Usually I open up a separate scene that is, I usually work on the materials, and I have a fixed setting of lights. I know exactly what it looks like, and usually that setup works for most of the scenes.
But that's interesting. So you have a scene with controlled lighting in which you test your materials,
right,
and then you paste the object with the material in your normal scene.
Not necessarily. Sometimes it's like there's a simple shader ball with an HDR that I know the settings. If it looks all right here, it looks pretty good here, then it's ready to go. So I import it inside the scene and then tweak it over there on the specific lighting. But it should work because I always try to not to. There's some standard for the light, like some settings, light, the intensity of the lights that are always pretty much constant, that don't really go to extremes. So those basic materials should work. Similar to if you go to the content browser, you get materials, you download them. If you set your scene correctly, they should look really good. If it looks weird, you're probably not lighting it correctly, or you're doing something wrong.
True. So very quickly, Atakan says hi from Turkey. And what else do we have here? We have Fabio. He wants to give you a digital hug, right? We need to implement that in our streams, digital hugs. And there's some mutual hellos here by friends. Let's see, what do we have here? All right, I do have a question. Where do you model, and which program do you prefer to model in? My answer is Cinema 4D.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I model everything in Cinema 4D, sculpting ZBrush, and that's pretty much it.
Fantastic. Cinema 4D has one of the best modelers. If you feel that you can't do things, hit me up on, let me bring up the banners on Twitter, DM me at NosemanGR or Jonas at JonasBills3D. And if you have something very specific to ask, don't forget to reach out there, because it may be something that warrants a quick tip or something like that. So, Atakan, you dive deep in the GI settings. I don't think, not today. I don't know what one of our next presenters is going to do. But if you do have any particular questions, let me know on Twixer, and maybe we can do something or put it in the Ask the Trainer. Go to the form and ask that question, and be as specific as possible. So let's see, what else do we have here? Have some hellos. A question. Right. Avinash, I sometimes struggle with unwanted noise in renders and in animations. Any tips other than just increase the settings. Do you have anything for us, Dusan?
Yeah, you have to figure out where the problem is. Usually it's either material or some small light in the scene that is causing the issue. So it's eliminating things, trying to figure out where the problem is. And once you find out, for instance, if this the spot here was glass and it was causing a lot of noise, I have to increase the samples on it. And I don't have to increase the samples on the whole scene. I don't have to go to the highest possible settings. I have to find where the issue is. And you can notice that by enabling disabling things and figuring out where the issue is. Actually, that I would I would love to show you all that stuff, but it will take quite a while. Maybe some other occasion with troubleshooting the render settings and lighting and so on. I think that would be very interesting. So yeah, focus, disable and enable things, and see how much faster render goes when you, like, I have layers here, for instance, and I just hide something. Actually, that's never mind. Delete, hide something, and test the render. Okay, it still renders slowly. It's not this. Eliminate and find the problem. So that's
yeah,
the best way.
Yeah, it is an iterative process. Sometimes it could be one single setting in one single light that causes various issues.
Exactly.
There was a question about portals. We showed that. Let's see. Right, this is an interesting question. So let's see. Do you ever render at lower resolutions and use upscalers? What are your thoughts on that?
No, hard no.
Okay.
It's the thing is that all the details that I'm working on, like I mentioned before, all the small things that I'm focusing on, and if I just use the upscaler, they tend to get lost. It still looks kind of cool with the AI upscalers and so on. I even tend not to use too much of denoisers, because those also can eliminate some of the details that I really enjoy. But sometimes if it's like a tight deadline, a client project that needs to be finished quick, you have to suck it up and do the denoiser or do it in post or whatever. But if there's time, I rather settle for overnight render with all the details that I worked on.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to add that about the denoisers, but you replied already. Darren, what's your favorite go-to trick when setting up day versus night illumination with a C?
We have that coming up right after this.
Okay, let me go then to some final questions so you can continue with your show. Of course, we're going to overrun, but that's our tradition. For a geometry-heavy scene production render, do you use only Redshift GPU or Redshift CPU or hybrid and so forth?
I only use GPU. In my case, it's faster. So the hybrid also. I have not really played around with the hybrid. It's like I said, it's fast enough for what I do. So no need for implementing CPU.
I say if someone spends a few hours in understanding the settings and how to improve the render speed, and if you do have clients and jobs that require, it may be a sane ask to invest in a second video card or a better video card.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say. This is a general question I've had today. Can you increase quality of the stream? It is 1080p. By default, YouTube sets it to auto, which is 720. But if you go to the settings in your YouTube and set it to 1080, you will get a better image. Otherwise, it could be your connection, your area. I'm getting a full, clean 1080p on my other computer that's actually downloading the stream from the internet. So there's nothing more we can do. It's a full high resolution, high definition stream. So Raya, glad to see Maxon finally has some architectural visualization videos. Yes, and this month we are going to continue with this. And Maxon is dedicated in servicing this type of industry. Contact us if you want to see things where I have my DMs and Jonas has our DMs open, and Maxon has a great customer support team that deals with your questions. So let us know what you would like from us. let's see. Can we talk about the primary factor that makes this scene work, the modeling? Do you have any general comments on modeling?
Well, of course, the model, if you got the modeled very detailed and you have a good textures, the lighting is the thing that I see it this way. If you have a good model and good textures, the light is only going to add to the mood, to the look, but not to the realism. So by default, good model with a good texture should suffice for the realism factor, right? So the light is the thing that makes the image more interesting, because the focus is not photorealism, it's photorealism plus interesting, inviting image that you create. So of course, very, very important, like small details, like the way this is modeled here, imperfections, small details. If you have this more like a square thing, it just not going to look good. So of course, modeling is very important. The creases here, for instance, and so on. And of course, you have, like, for instance, in this case, lighting works because there's so many details here and you get so many small shadows. If it was like a more simple, so far very simple, very minimalistic, it would kind of lack details. So I'll probably add some shadows, from leaf shadows or something, to make it more interesting. It's always about looking at the image and thinking about how you can improve on it.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'll let you go on with the next part of your presentation. And if we don't have time for questions, we're going to be here next week, and we have the Ask the Trainer sessions within the month. So setting you free. Go ahead, Dusan.
All right, so I want to talk a bit about the studio I already mentioned, the Humdinger from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've been working with them for almost like 8 years now. Started working on animation, and we really get along well. And this is some of the stuff we do with very different and interesting clients, from traditional architectural visualization exteriors to like this is a product render in this case, the fire pits, and some interior renders. We do a lot of product animations and shots. So this is something we did recently. So we have a product, we need to place it in different environments. This is a studio setup, and then we have an animation where it shows where this product is used. So this is what I really enjoy, figuring out how to implement the object seamlessly inside of the scene. So you can see the environment is changing. So we do a lot of animation, motion. This is basically motion design with particle system. We use Cinema 4D particle system. So for me, it's not always a traditional ArcViz. In the Humdinger studio, we do a lot of different things, which makes it even more interesting for me. Here's another one for the company called Soundply. Again, starts off with architectural visualizations. Then we go into more of a motion design to show different elements of the soundproof, the sound plies. Again, a lot of particles, MoGraph stuff. So we basically do all this, and I really enjoy it. I used to do, like, a long time ago, I just would do just architectural renders, but this makes it so much more fun to be flexible and to do different stuff almost every day. And what I love is that basically every day is very creative. So products in realistic environments, all kinds of those. I want to talk a little bit about importing, because when you work with clients that have products, you have to import them inside of a Cinema 4D, and C4D luckily has very good setup, especially for the step file, the .stp, and you import it and you can set the detailing here. So if you have a really close-up shot of the product, you want to go high or even custom to even tweak it. If it's a huge thing in the background, you can go low. So very good setting for the step files. And the most important thing, of course, you have to focus on the product. The first thing you see is the product, and then the rest. And of course, the rest is also important. You want to show what kind of environment this is meant for, and so on. So it's a bit of a struggle to implement a lot of things and still focus on the product, but that's what makes it fun. So, like, for instance, I'm going to show you this. The minimalism thing is very something that's not easy to do. So sometimes it's easier to cram the whole scene with all different objects and furniture and whatnot, but minimalism tends to be quite difficult. So the thing in the product renders combined with ArcTwiz, in this case, is that the product must look great. It has to have all the features lit. It has to look perfect, like on the cover of the box, but also has to be has to fit inside of the scene. So this is the part that it's not that easy to achieve. Here's some fill light on this side, a light outside. There's some furniture outside. So sometimes we even go and make multiple renders, one for the product, one for the background, to make it really every aspect of the image has to look good. We use AOVs, like reflections, and the puzzle mat, for instance, for masking things out. We're going to need to do the bucket rendering to see that. So you have a mask, you can use it in Photoshop, After Effects, and really tweak all those details, because first and foremost, the product must look perfect and the environment must look good. So very, very interesting project that we're working on. All right, so let's move on. We're going to be lighting this environment. I hope we don't go too long with this stream, but I'm going to try to be efficient.
It's our tradition. We go long and we go strong.
That's fine with me. Okay, so let's open up the scene. This one is a little bit heavier, so I'm gonna. It's gonna take a while to load it. The exterior renderings are maybe easier to light than the interiors. So let's just. There's no lighting here. So one thing, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of furniture. I'm just gonna jump out of the camera. You can see I cut the terrain where the grass is supposed to be only to the field of view. So when I'm scattering grass, I don't want to scatter it all over the place behind the camera, which you cannot see. So I only work in the field of view if I can do that. So again, let's just start lighting this thing. Redshift, not lights, objects. We go Sun and Sky Rig. And let's just hit render. And basically that's almost it. If I turn it off, you have the basic Redshift lighting with, okay, I didn't disable the sun. There's a couple of trees around here. I used a content browser for that. Just type in a tree. And there's some really cool ones. The one with the Redshift logo means you can just drop them in. You don't have to do anything else and look really good. And the really cool thing, there's a level of detail. So you can see that you don't really displaying the leaves, which helps you with speed of the viewport. What I want to do here maybe is rotate it slightly. I'm going to keep this in the screen. open up the sun setting. It's minus 45 again. Let's make it minus 30. And let's rotate the sky. So again, there's a lot of what I'm doing here is there's a lot of grass here in this area, so I want to fill it up with some shadows, with a tree in the background. We might need to increase the sky a little bit to make it brighter. It's always an issue with the architecture like this, so everything is turning up a little bit dark in there. So one thing is to add lights inside. The next thing is to, similar like I shown you before, add portal lights, so the light is coming inside and it's much better lit. If you need to do it very quickly, you can just cheat again, Redshift light, area light, and rotate it. Nope. Rotate it, make it a little bigger. Okay, so this is way too bright, so I go into the settings at 10 or 15, and maybe make it a little bigger. I don't want it. You can see already here, I'm going to shift drag here. You can see it in the reflection. We don't want that. So I just go into the light settings, go into the details and contribution, and disable the reflection. And so that's no longer bothering me. So a really quick and dirty way to fix those dark areas. But I would recommend going in and add portal lights or adding lights inside. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good. So you can tweak the settings of the sun and the sky, or load in HDR. That's the basic setup. Let's move to the night scene.
Yes, Darren is going to be excited about the night scene.
Right. Okay, so I already loaded in an object to make it already the dome light, and it's also from HDR Haven. So you can see there's only moon and stars. Okay, so Redshift light, dome light, drag and drop it inside, and let's hit render. You can use the sun as like a moon. So decrease the intensity, make it blue, and because the night renders also, if you only have like interior lights and everything else, it looks good, but you don't see the architecture anymore. So usually what we do, we add moonlight to show a little bit of the architecture, like in this case. Okay, there's some fire going on in the fire pit. That's done with incandescent light, with opacity. And what I did, I decreased the intensity of the sky. So this is what it looks like with default setting. It's way too bright. This is not what it looks like at night. So what I was able to do is 0.2, 0.3 looks fine. And what you have to do is just start lighting it. And I'm going to try to do it as fast as possible. So Redshift lights, area light. I like to, for the interior lights, I like to set them to disk. Let's just jump out and rotate it 90 degrees. Push it up here. It's obviously too big. I try to do this really fast. So what I want to do is just move it around to control drag into this area here, in here, up here. I'm doing this very sloppy, but it doesn't matter. You know what I'm doing.
And since you're showing lights, Darren asks, do you use IES real lights at all in your architectural.
Yes,
geography.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. In some cases, it does matter what you use. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I think it's better idea to use the IES lights because they add a little bit of the
shape of the light.
more details. Yes, the shape of the light. Some clients even would ask for a specific type of lighting, like architects would go, okay, this light is going to be this IES light or that IES light. So yes, that's definitely a good idea to go about lighting.
A little tip for everyone, just in case you didn't know. Most light manufacturers that have online stores with CAD models and so forth, they also offer IES files for their lighting. So you can find a specific light fixture, download the IES, and without having the actual hardware of the light, you can produce using an area light in IES mode, and it shows all the different ways the light comes from the fixture. So it makes it much more realistic. So if you don't know, just go search manufacturers, big manufacturers that have online stores, and you may find IES lights.
That's right. Almost all of them have that.
Yeah.
So to make it look more warm and welcoming, I want these lights to be a little warmer. So I go to the temperature, and the lower with the Kelvin settings you go, the warmer they are, vice versa. The higher you go, the cooler they are. So we're going for like 4500, maybe let's go to 4K. Do we need to increase the intensity? Maybe a little bit. All right, so this is what I did. I just placed some area light inside of the scene, inside of the object. And there's one neat little trick that I like to do to make it look way, way better. So what I do is I add another area light, go to Redshift, lights, area light. And I'm going to place it outside the windows.
Like an inverse portal light, so it shines
That's
from
right.
the inside out.
Exactly. Yeah. Because if you look at the render, the inside is almost well lit, but the outside is dark, which is not natural. So the way you would fix it is to increase the lights from the inside, but they would be overblown. So you would have a issue with you can't see anything inside because it's too bright. And once I do this is probably going to be too hot. Let's try it. Maybe a good idea to just wait for it to render. It's way too strong. So the good idea is I have layers here set up, architecture, trees, grass, vegetation, and so on. So when I'm test lighting, I just hide those. So the loading times are much faster and the scene is much more responsive. So the last one is, it's always a good idea to name things. These are interior lights, and let's group this one as well. Keep pushing the wrong button. Fill light. I don't know what else to call it. All right, so set it to like 10, maybe 5, even less. And the temperature again, maybe like 3.5, 4, 4K. And we don't want it to be in the reflection. So again, I go into the details. And reflection 0. So you look what big of a difference it makes. So one other solution would be to add exterior lights, which I probably should, because usually you have those lights outside. But once you do this, it looks so much more realistic. So the next thing I do is just go on and place it on all the windows, which I'm not going to do because it's repetitive and it's wasting time. Let's put on all the objects again. Turn on the objects again and start render. In this area here, I see that the fire is burning on in the midair. So there's a fire pit here. I'm going to zoom in. And the fire is casting some light, but again, I want to fake this. This should be much warmer looking, a cozy little area with the fire. So I go in the Redshift lights, area light again, and in the object, I'm going to go to the sphere. I'm just going to do, where's this fire? I'm going to put the fire over here. This is my area light. Drop it inside and go press Alt-0. If we press Alt-0, you'll zero out coordinates to the object you want to move it to. Scale this down. Again, it's gonna have to be warm, so let's do it 4.5K. Probably gonna be too bright. Already know that. And hit render.
Until this renders, Darren reminded me that in the asset browser, we have over 700 IES lights ready for you to use whenever you want.
Oh, yes. Exactly.
Thank you, Darren, for the reminder.
Okay, make it a little warmer still, like 3500. And this looks much better. So what I would also do is, obviously I'm trying to speed this up as much as I can, but you can already see it's becoming much more welcoming, much better looking. And I see some textures are missing here, but it doesn't matter. What I also like to do is, for instance, we have some, what is that? Bamboo. Also add another light. Just copy one of those to be faster. Alt-0, where is it? Here it is. Place it here. What am I doing? Rotate it. Like this. So I'm just going to zoom in here and hit render. So usually you have, like in the modern houses, you always have the whole yard lit, the plants are lit. So what I like to do is place the ground lights into the vegetation, which makes it look so much more high-end and better looking. Just going to keep it for it to render. You can see where this is going, right? And I would go all over the scene and look for places where a lighting would look good to add really those accents of lights. The one thing I didn't do, and I'm not sure if we have time, is the grass scattering. You think if we have time to show that, or?
I mean, people are hanging out and they want to see your stuff, so keep going.
Okay, I'm just going to do it really quickly. Okay. So in this case, I've shown you the house. The terrain is here, just a random texture of a grass. But in reality, if you want to make it realistic, you want to have a grass scattered on the ground. So what I did here, this is from the content browser. A tree. I have a plane here. On the ground, I added a displacer that has a noise pattern in there. So if you look at it like this, it's the displacer uses the information from the noise to move the surface. I like to do that because this is like a test scene, like I mentioned, for the material. I open this test scene, play with the grass, and once I'm done, I'm importing it back into the main scene. Quick and dirty grass. So here we have 3 nice batches of grass. Redshift ready. Just hit double click. Already have them in with the materials and everything. I go into the MoGraph cloner, set it to object, and this is our ground here. So let's move this down here and call this grass. So I want to put this ground inside of the object. So the cloners will be scattered onto the ground, drop the grass inside. Obviously, that's way too low number. Let's use it like 500 for now. Let's zoom in and well, quickly talk about the lighting. I used a dome light here with random HDRI and the sunlight. You can also combine that. You don't have to use the Redshift sky. You can use the dome light and in combination with the sun. So I'm hitting a render here. Let's go. Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm seeing here, they're not rotated correctly. So I think we have to rotate it minus 90 degrees, negative 90. And if I zoom in, you can see the content browser grass is really, really good. It's really high quality. What I want to do, because I'm going to have so many cloners, I want to switch it to multi-instance so it renders faster. Maybe I want to increase the size a little bit. And of course, increase the number. But right now, they're all scattered very similarly. So what I want to do is go to the MoGraph and use an effector and use a random effector. Oh, yes, it's there. In the settings, in the parameters, I don't want to move the position. So what random effector does is randomizes the position of the clones. What I want to randomize is the rotation. I can do this like this, and the other one's not so much. Maybe I want to also make a uniform scale like this. So now it's very much random, and I just have to do, what I have to do is hit more clones, and you can see how quickly this works. You can already see here in the preview, I want to increase that to 5K. Still not really there, but you can see it looks really good. For instance, if you want to make it like a field or something like that, you just jump into the content browser again and maybe throw in a couple of those long grasses here. So you can see how quickly you can do long grass. You can populate the scene with the grass. So I duplicated the grass. I want to delete those and put this in the new long grass inside. Always name your things. I want to reduce those to like 500 or so. Okay. Let's try this. Okay. Zoom in. I want to maybe change the seed differently so it's not placed exactly the same as the grass. And look at that. It looks really nice.
Approved.
If you add some more, like if you go in and add some maybe bokeh and go a little bit more artistic here. I mean, this is like, if you tweak around it a little bit more, you can really nice nature scene with the tree that also looks really good. and so on. So like a test scene where you test out different grass and elements, and then basically what we just do is just use the grass and the random effector, copy it into my scene here, paste it, replace, add the new object here, which is our terrain here, drop it inside, increase the samples, and it's gonna have to be much more. Let's see, even more. So this is why it's always important to work on a test scene instead of a actual scene, because it usually renders faster. You have more time to tweak everything and so on. Yeah, then you just have to set it up. I think I made this in the night scene. We can try this. Let's see what happens. Needs more. I think like 7. Yeah. Let's hit render and wait for it to render. But from my end, I think this is we went 40 minutes overboard, but I could do this all day.
I think it was worth it because pretty much everyone stayed up until this point, and there's some very good questions as well. While this is, are you having it to render or not? I think that we need to. Well, there you go. That will be.
This is the image with the grass, but the lighting that I was skipping. You can see the thing I was talking about, adding lights to the different plants here to make it more interesting, and so on.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm not going to go through any other questions today. Please send them through using the form or any other means of communication, including Twitter. You know where you can find Dusan. I posted all the links up there. My closing remarks is that, as usual, I'm extremely grateful. I get the pleasure of hanging out with great artists like yourself, Dusan. Your work is absolutely amazing and inspiring, and I can see that sentiment is shared across the board. And hopefully we can see you again sooner rather than later, because this is the kind of work that showcases our tools in the best possible light. So I personally, and I think I speak on behalf of everyone, would like to thank you for being with us. And yes, have a great day, and we'll be in touch. Please stay on the stream, in the green room. Yeah, it's not green and it's not a room, but nonetheless.
Well, I want to thank you and Maxon for the invitation. I love doing those things and love sharing knowledge as much as I can. If anybody has any questions, like you said, feel free to reach out. Me and the studio Humdinger, we are always looking for new opportunities and looking for new projects. It's a fun projects to work on. So hit us up. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank everyone for tuning in. Hope it was interesting and maybe you learned something new.
Well, thank you, everyone. I just want to very quickly remind you that if you go to this link, which I'm going to paste right in the chat, let's put this in here. Click on that and you get to this page, which has all the relevant buttons and information. Don't forget to use House of Polygons, all capitalized without any spaces, to go to this link and get your free t-shirt. If there are any problems with the code, contact Maxon. I do not have any control on this. Yeah, and if you haven't watched the whole stream, please go to the Maxon Training Team YouTube channel as of tomorrow and check out the stream recorded with the timestamps. So again, thank you very much, Dusan, and thank you everybody for coming, and have a great afternoon, and we'll see you next week with more architectural visualization.
Thank you, everybody. Cheers.